Hello everyone, it's me again, Mark Olivero. I'd like to thank you all for joining me once again on this expedition through my brain. I'd like to tell you guys a quick joke to get this started. So there's three kahunas and they all went fishing. They ran out of bait. The first kahuna jumps out of the boat, walks to land, walks in the water, walks to land, gets bait, comes back. A couple hours later, they run out of bait again. The second kahuna goes, I'll get the bait this time. He jumps out and he walks to land, grabs the bait, he comes back. About an hour after that, they run out of bait again. The third kahuna's like, I guess it's my turn, huh? Gets in the boat, jumps off the boat. Sorry about that. Jumps off the boat, sinks straight to the bottom. The first two kahunas look at each other and they're like, we probably should have told him where the rocks was, huh? Anyway, so that's just a little ocean joke. This topic is today we're going to be talking about the importance of conservation and self-sustainability while fishing. This topic is important to me and many residents of Hawaii because that is our culture. There's a lot of history behind it, heritage, and we believe we must strive to sustain the ocean population, not only for us now, but the generations that are to come. Today we'll be discussing the importance of sustainable fishing historically, in the present time, and for the generations of our future. So first thing, we can go talk about the history a little bit. And so fishing was important for the ancient Hawaiians because they relied on it for a source of sustenance, and it was also part of their spirituality. The Hawaiians also understood the importance of self-sustainability. They believed in the conservation of ocean resources and living in balance with the surroundings, the surrounding environment, the ocean, all the way up to Mauka to Makai. Fishing provided a great source of protein, which would feed entire villages and sometimes even a whole parts of the Apua. How they would do that is they would catch fish. There'll be ocean villages, there'll be mountain villages, and in betweens. So they would use their catch to pretty much have like a barter system. So what they couldn't get from the ocean, they would trade with people from Mauka, so they could get different types of, let's see, lokoia, sweet potato, ulu, kalo, pork. So that's the way that they used to, self-sustainability used to help them. One example of a fishing method that falls under self-sustainability is lokoia, which is Hawaiian for fish ponds. So you guys all seen this fish ponds before. We have them here we have one in Hilo, Kilkau, we have many in Oahu. And these ponds would allow fish to swim in during high tides. They would then close the gates, the boundary, and allow these fish would get trapped in there and allow these fish to grow to a decent size, which then they would gather when it reaches appropriate size for the type of fish. And of course, seasons mattered as well. Self-sustainability through fishing is still being practiced here in Hawaii today by a huge population of our community. We still practice many of the methods that they once practiced in Hawaii. We still have our ponds, but a more prominent one us fishermen like to do is what we call let them go, let them grow. What it does is it helps us regulate the sizes of what the state and also us fishermen deem to be acceptable to remove from the ocean. According to Mr. William Chase, the local mentality of let them go, let them grow is a practice that he and his ohana has practiced for many generations. He said that his reasoning behind the practice is in hopes that Hawaii's indigenous species thrive for generations to come, for his keikis, for his keikis. Not only to provide sustenance, but also to provide that bonding recreational between father son, father daughter, mother the whole family. It's just a bonding recreational event. An example of practicing self-sustainability is following regulations set by the DLNR, right? And I think I covered that a little bit just previously. The organization's purpose is to set limitations on types and sex of ocean resources, size, bag limits, and overall just keeping an eye on the conservation aspect of gathering. Okay. So self-sustainability for our Keiki and Hawaii's conservation of fisheries are important issues because overfishing and not following regulations has led to major problems in our ecosystem. We have more invasive fish that are killing off our reefs. We have less of our indigenous fish that we would commonly see back in the day as I was growing up. And now it's mostly what we call ta'ape. If anybody know what I'm talking about, types of fish that just are destroying the water's ecosystem. According to an article, Return to the Abundant Oceans, Hawaii fisheries are 75% depleted due to overfishing, and we import 63% of our fish that we put on tables today. That is hard for me to accept, that we are buying fish when we're surrounded by an ocean. We're importing these fish when we're surrounded by an ocean. If that doesn't tell you that there's a problem, then I don't know where to begin to explain that there is an issue here. It also states that annually, Hawaii produces 623,000 pounds of sustenance from Hawaii's oceans. That's sustenance, that's just not fish. Now we're talking about taco, we're talking about opihis, we're talking about anything that you can pull out of the ocean and eat, all right? Which is approximately 1/3 of what our ancestors could yield in a year consistently. So they could pull out 1 million pounds of fish, as to where we have this technology and we can only pull out 623,000. So obviously the numbers have dwindled. It's not as easy. It's not as easy to come by. So if this continues, it is extremely likely that generations to come will face overfishing tragedies like coastal countries of Africa. So what's happening in Africa is the fishing is so scarce that fishermen are being forced further out into the ocean, further away from land, where it's more treacherous, the seas are rough. A lot of these fishermen aren't returning, and these families no longer have the patriarch of the family to support them. And could we see that happening in Hawaii? Totally. We're going to lose our fishing grounds. We're going to have to go further into more deep waters. If anybody knows anything about boats, break out another 1,000, because it's going to break, and you hope it doesn't break in the middle of the ocean. Well, back to what I was talking about. Here in Hawaii, a part of our culture will be lost. Children will be robbed of joyful recreational activities, as I mentioned earlier, and seafood will become another delicacy for the wealthy. Because if you don't already agree with me, think about this. How many people in poverty get to have shrimp? How many people in poverty eat ahi, mahi? How many people in poverty or in less fortunate communities, which I was raised in, that's why I'm bringing this to attention, it is able to afford these things that we should be we should have access to, because we're on an island. But no, it's going to become worse if we all don't pay attention to what's going on in our oceans right now. Well, in conclusion, so today we talked about ancient Hawaiians and the culture that they created of self-sustainability and conservation of our ocean resources. And that, like I said, that's not only fish. That goes all the way down to crabs and octopus and the eels. We talked about how we still incorporate our culture in today's society, how we're still doing the self-sustainability. We're still going out there harvesting. Why it's important that we still do this is under limitation and regulation, and how we must unite in a common goal for our future of our keikis. That's where we were talking about the percentages, the numbers, and the proof that it's not getting better, it's getting worse, and we all need to unite with under one common goal. Thank you all for joining me again. Thank you for your time, and I hope to see you in the water. Choo! Aloha. Bingo.